Alberta Premier Danielle Smith responds to defamatory CBC article on email allegations. Well, knock me down with a feather. You mean the CBC got something factually incorrect to the point that it counts as defamation? Sheila, what is this saga all about?
So this is, if you want to see the full story, I guess you want to watch Ezra's video from yesterday. We showed it in full at the end of the show. What happened, and you can see it actually on lockdownamnesty.com. You can see the video there in full and sign the petition there. So that's your landing place for all things to do with this story. But for about 2 weeks now, it's been floating around in the mainstream media, perpetrated by those fake news peddlers, the CBC, that Premier Danielle Smith has been putting, frankly illegal if she did, pressure on Crown prosecutors to drop charges for COVID lockdowns. Now, there are ways that she could do this, but basically when I say the pressure would be illegal, what CBC is saying she did is that the same way Justin Trudeau pressured Jody Wilson-Raybould to not pursue charges against his favorite corrupt construction firm in Quebec, SNC-Lavalin. They're saying that Danielle Smith did the same, but to pressure them to drop charges against lockdown scofflaws. Now, there are ways that she can sort of drop those charges. And one of the ways is that they're not in the public interest. That, and we're short 50 Crown prosecutors, and it seems like not the best means of expending, these resources we don't even have. And the things they did are not illegal now, right? So it's like when Justin Trudeau legalized marijuana, would the Crown continue to pursue marijuana charges against people? Is that in the public interest if they were in possession of something that's completely legal now? So anyway, CBC says that she's been, and they say there are emails is what they say, of the Premier between the Crown Prosecution Office leaning on them to drop the charges. Well, a completely independent part of the bureaucracy examined 1 million emails. Not a single one. So then CBC tries to dig itself out of this hole because they get the thing completely wrong. They start trying to dig around and say, okay, well, Ezra Levant, we have this letter from you to the Premier about dropping the lockdown charges. What say you? Like, they're trying to create this scandal. And it's like, are you guys shocked that Ezra's anti-lockdown? Are you like there's a billboard on the side of the highway calling for lockdown amnesty, where we not only are we doing it publicly, saying like, hey, you should drop these lockdown charges, they're not in the public interest, but Ezra quietly, and it's not illegal, he's just not showy about the nice things he does behind closed doors, frankly. And I say this, not him. I don't think he wanted people to know that he did this because he's in Toronto. He's not in Alberta. None of us Albertans have lockdown charges. But it's the right thing to do for Danielle Smith to find a way for her government to step back from these lockdown prosecutions. So Ezra sends a letter that he has obviously had a lawyer look over because it's all meticulously legally footnoted, which means Ezra spent some money now on this. Because again, it's the right thing to do. There's nothing in it for him. He's doing this quietly. CBC gets this, they publish it and say, I think this is evidence that Danielle Smith is basically taking her marching orders from Ezra Levant. We don't know what she did with that letter, but we know for sure she didn't pass it along to the Crown prosecutors because it would have been in an email, and they looked at 1 million of them and there wasn't anything there. Now, yesterday, the Premier says, CBC, we went through 1 million emails. We went through 1 million emails. You can't find evidence that this letter that Ezra Levant wrote got passed on to anybody. Besides, it's not illegal to advocate and send a letter to the Premier saying, please do the right thing. But now the Premier's mad. She thought CBC would do the right thing and retract. Yeah, right. So anyways, CBC She sends out a letter yesterday. She condemned the CBC for publishing a defamatory article based on rumors that her staff sent Crown prosecutors emails about the Coutts blockade. There's not, a million emails examined. Nothing. In a release, the Premier's office claimed the article contains baseless allegations and an internal investigation by Alberta Justice proved false. It goes on to say that the Premier wants an apology, a formal apology issued from the CBC, not specifically to her, but she wants them to include the nonpartisan officials from the Alberta Public Service who were maligned. She said, I have complete faith that the Public Service conducted a thorough review. I want to thank them for their seriousness. Anyway, she goes on to say, like, you need to apologize to the Crown. You need to apologize to officials from Alberta Justice. They didn't do anything wrong. Nobody from my office did anything wrong. There's no evidence that they did anything wrong. And you published a story about emails you had never even seen. And now they're saying, oh, sources say they saw these emails, but that's not what it said at the very beginning. You said emails, and this would not make it past our editorial standards whatsoever.
100%, Sheila. So now the ball is in CBC's court, clearly. What do you speculate they're going to do? Are they going to do the right thing, which would be to publish a retraction and an apology? Or are they going to double down? And if they do you think Danielle Smith will say, okay, see you in court, tell it to the judge?
I'm not sure what is going to happen here. We seem to be in a little bit of a standoff, but the longer this goes on, the worse CBC looks. Yep. Because it was found that they got the story wrong. And instead of just saying, okay, we got it wrong, they kept digging and trying to find evidence, even though there was no evidence whatsoever. And then they tried to sort of say, well, see, you talked to Ezra Levant. So obviously something sinister is going on here.